It's so early in the morning.
Right?
She knocks it louder than any of us ever have. I use the back end.
Good morning, everyone. It's July 31st. We're having a special meeting this morning. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And Mark, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mark. All right, item number 3, roll call.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Kevin Judy.
Here.
Commissioner District 3, Sharon Kraft.
I'm here. Thank you, Mackenzie. Let's move on to item number 4. This is a public hearing to review and consider awarding the solid waste long haul transport and disposal contract to either Mason County Garbage or Republic Services, and ask staff to come forward and brief us.
Richard, you look like you're in the witness protection program.
Wow, it is dark in your area.
I know.
Well, I just got back from Phoenix. Got a heck of a tan.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to say about that.
Richard's
Yeah. There's no wind. Don't even.
I lived there for too many years.
120 degrees.
Yeah.
He said the low is 95.
Yeah, and you just don't cool off.
I heard somebody say
Don't
gross.
go
I think
there.
that was the right word when I said that.
It is gross. All right, enough about weather. Richard, take her away.
Okay, well, this is actually what I'm gonna ask for is a continuation on this public hearing. We're not ready to award. We got some negotiations to do and some information to vet, and we'd like to keep it open and hopefully have the hearing on the 29th of August.
On the 29th of August? Is that a?
Yes.
I don't have my calendar. Is that a Tuesday? Yes?
Yep, regular commission meeting.
So it's up to you, Madam Chair, would you like to open it up for discussion or are you looking to,
Table it now.
So your suggestion is to just table it for now and discuss later and have the hearing on the 29th. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
So would you like an update, kind of a recap of where we're at and
That
what
would
we've
be good.
done?
Yeah.
And also, if you don't mind, I could see the other commissioners' wheels turning, because we don't usually, I don't remember ever in 11 years close it without, because people show up.
Right.
What
For
do
having discussion.
Do you have any memory of any of that, how we handle that?
No, but this is the first time I've been through this particular process, and so it's been a while.
I mean, for any of our hearings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, this is a,
Yeah.
I'll leave it to the chair.
Yeah. Mark, maybe you could bring us up to date as to what's going on and.
Absolutely. So solid waste contracting is kind of unique in Washington state law. It has its own specific statutes associated with it and the process that you go through and the public input that is required. So Mason County, I think this is the first time we've actually done this contract and opened it up in quite a while. And so we received 2 bids on the contract, one from Mason County Garbage and one from Republic. Republic is our current provider. So we evaluated the proposals that we received. We interviewed both the teams and then kind of looked at the details of the numbers that are included in the proposals. And at that time determined that we were going to start negotiating with Mason County Garbage. So from just a numbers perspective, that's kind of what the focus is right now. We're going to go through and negotiate that contract and ensure that Mason County is covered and that there's not any outstanding items that may come back and bite you down the road. And so as we go through that process of negotiating with Mason County Garbage, if we got to a point where all of a sudden we said, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't look right, and when we evaluate the whole contract and the terms of that contract, then we always have the option of potentially going back and negotiating with the other respondent from that contract. And this is all part of the specific laws associated with long haul contracting. So right now, preliminarily, we are working and moving forward with Mason County Garbage to get those details associated with that contract. All of the, I mean, there's lots of details that Richard would probably be far better than myself explaining the details that we're getting into. But as we go through that process, right now we're thinking Mason County Garbage is the right one to start negotiating with.
And either way, we've never approved anything without having it in front of us, and right now, that's all I have.
Yep, and that's because we don't have any of the details of that contract worked out yet. And so we've begun those negotiations with them, with Mason County Garbage, going through all the details, looking at the details that we have to go through in the process, in the in-depth process that we have to do, because we have to vet out not only Mason County Garbage, but Mason County Garbage also has contracts with, let's say, Cowlitz Landfill, right? So working with Cowlitz Landfill to make sure that they are not a going concern, and that we want to make sure that the contract that we're looking at is based on dumping all of our waste there, then absolutely that's something that we need to consider. And so as we go through that process, kind of fast and furious process to get all that done, by August, the end of August, we'd be coming back to the board on the 29th with a proposal.
And the expiration date is August 23rd,
Correct.
Is that right?
So there is going to have to be an extension on the current contract with Republic to continue to provide service for a gap period of time.
So, Madam Chair, because this is different than ever before, because I have nothing for anybody to even discuss, will you entertain the motion to table? And Madam Chair, I move that we table this, open it up for full discussion and as a full public hearing on August 29th, allowing the public to testify at that time as well.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, so we have a motion to table this until Tuesday, August 29th, for more information and further discussion. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Went a lot faster than I thought it was going to.
Yeah,
All right.
well,
motion
till the
carries.
29th.
Until the
We might have one.
29th.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
All right. All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
It was good to see
quickest
your
meeting
faces.
as ever been to, right?
Yeah, 8 minutes, that's impressive.
All right, well, it is it's 11 o'clock and we will start off with Steve, our auditor.
Hey, good morning. Now that I figured out the audio, just wanted to brief you, Commissioner Trask, and also Commissioner Netherland and Commissioner Schutte on an agreement we're working to put in place with the Secretary of State's office to cover the electronic exchange of Class 3 data in the vote WA system. And that's required by RCW 39.34.240. And so Class 3 data in the context of vote WA is information, personal information pertaining to a voter. And that would be things such as their name, last four of their social security number, things such as that. And so the provisions of the contract provide that the exchange of that information is handled by secure electronic data or file transfer, and that those who see or have access to the data at either end, whether it be here at our election offices at the county or the Secretary of State's office, would be on a need-to-know basis. And with that, there's also an optional sharing provision for information related to our information technology infrastructure and security of computer and telecommunications. And as you guys probably know, that's something I'm very protective over, and I've talked to TJ about it. He and I are on the same page. So we don't want to just give out any kind of information along those lines unless someone, one, actually really truly needs it, and two, we're actually truly willing to provide it. But that's the framework of the agreement overall. It's set up to renew automatically unless we cancel it, and either party can cancel the agreement with 30 days notice. And so I've reviewed this also with Tim Whited, our deputy prosecuting attorney, in addition to TJ. And once we have it finalized and put in place, we'll be sure to provide Mackenzie with a copy for the formal recording of the contract. Any questions around that?
All right, commissioners, any questions?
No.
No. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
your time.
Steve.
Appreciate it. Happy Monday.
To you too. Thanks, Steve. All right, well, that was quick and relatively painless. Let's move on to support services. Mark?
Thank you, Commissioner Trask. First of all, I've got John Taylor here to talk about playground equipment for Sand Hill Park. Something we've been looking at for a while.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today, I'd like to present to you two options for playground equipment at Sand Hill. We've laid them out and sent those photos in and what the footprint would look like. There's two options that we currently have, which I've provided the bids for. One with $37,163, $20,000 is what we're estimating for site prep. Comes to $62,307.67. The second option is a little larger piece of playground equipment, which I've provided those bids and the picture of it, of what that equipment looks like. The second example is $47,080. Site prep is going to be the same, which is $20,000, with a total of $73,112.20. So we're expecting to add the site prep into the actual installation of the equipment. Bud believes that it might be a little complicated for our staff to do, to ensure that it's put in safely and the correct way to ensure that it long lasts. So are there any questions?
So it looks like the second option is on sale too. So the price is normally $52,000 and it's at $37,100, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, the
And
second
I see-
one's a lot more fun.
Say, and I see the second option has things on there for little kids right there in the front. And there's a lot of little tiny kids that aren't on the field during those games that could really utilize that.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we were thinking. Because there are a lot of younger children who use that field, it would provide something for them other than having to watch baseball, which they may not be interested in.
Who doesn't like a good game of baseball, though?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioners, thoughts?
I'm so tickled I can't even begin to even tell you how important this is to me. We've been waiting a long time. For the first time in all these years, the county will have playground equipment in North Mason. That's a lot. That means a lot. So if we decide to go with it, I just start by saying thank you to John, thank you to the commissioners, because we didn't have anything like that ever before.
Yeah,
Are there any other?
on which one?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Are we going with the second one? Is that the plan?
That does sound.
Yeah,
Right
I
now.
like the second one.
It's a
I
little
need
bigger
to-
piece of equipment, so it would be a broader range in ages as opposed to the first one.
Yeah, I definitely like the second one because it has the thing for the little tiny kids down there, that little play piece in the front. And besides that, for the price, as the commissioner pointed out, that one's on sale. I like saving money.
Yeah, 100%. I think the second option is the best one and the right one to go with. So let's build a playground, guys.
Yes.
Excellent, great. Thank you, commissioners. Anything else?
That's exciting. That's great.
It is. I can't believe I got this big smile on my face like this, but it does mean a lot to me. It really honestly does. And Kelly Frazier agrees with me.
Hey, Kelly, you need to be on mute.
There you go.
Excellent,
Alrighty.
thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John, and thank your team too.
I will, thank you.
Mary, have you had a chance to get back to your office?
Yes.
How about our Office of Public Defense contract?
So I'd like to move to approve the 23-26 collective bargaining agreement for Woodworkers Local Lodge W38 IAM Office of Public Defense for the support staff. Representatives for the county and for the woodworkers have reached a definitive agreement. Again, I think we are just setting the trend here with really collaborative, positive negotiations and environments with our personnel and with the unions, and would just like to get this moved forward so we can take care of our people.
100% supportive. Great work by you and your team, as well as the folks on the labor side.
Absolutely. I've said it before. I'll tell you, I can't tell you how proud I am of all of you and all the work that has come on both sides of this. People in the community don't understand how we've been able to pull parity between all of our groups to make sure that they were all taken care of. Spot raises where they're needed and a realistic increase yearly. You can't do that unless everybody's working together. So thank you to our staff and to the staff that was represented by the union.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think you guys have, the team has done a great job, and I truly appreciate the members of the unions too, recognizing that, the county is working together with them. So appreciate you, Mary.
Good stuff.
Also wanted to recognize Mary and her staff, and that this is our newest bargaining agreement. So this is a brand new agreement. And when you have brand new agreements, you've got to go through all of the details, right? So you actually have to create a brand new agreement that defines the whole spectrum of things. So it's not just going in and looking at details on an existing contract. It's starting from scratch. So Mary and Misty, very nice job on that.
Mark, showing that we've had in the last year, we've had 9 different contracts signed, and they're all around the same. I don't know what to say except for it shows that both the county and the employees are working together, because that's unheard of. I've been around a long time, but other than that, even in other corporations I've been involved in, I've never seen anything like this. And the parity amongst them all, we have contracts that are 4-year contracts. That means that everybody has decided to work together. You show me any other county that's happened with, and I'll tell you what, I'll buy you a drink, because I've never seen it before. So I don't know, proud of you guys.
Thank you. Mary, do you want to talk about our Public Works Finance Manager position that has been open forever?
Public Works Finance Manager. So this position's been open, I think I was told, since 21, so way before I got here. It's desperately needed. I know we have some services that are coming in and contracting, but I think that we would actually have some significant, management, expertise, things that we're not going to be able to just contract out. And I know Loretta is desperately interested to get this position filled, as am I, because if Mark asked me about it one more time. So what I'd like to do is see if we can throw out a $5,000 hiring bonus that would follow kind of the precedent that's been set for the corrections deputy hiring bonus, where, so much upon coming in the door, so $2,500, and then $2,500 upon completion of the first year. We did check around to see what the counties were doing. This seemed pretty comparable practice, and then we'll be in line with what we've kind of already done with the corrections area. So the other thing is getting them off at the 1 year. 6 months is the probation, so we're kind of making sure that's really going to work. We're getting at least a year out of them in order to get that full $5,000.
Well, I'm hoping that we get more than just a year out of them.
100%, but got to have a carrot to dangle, right?
Right.
Well, Mary, this is another example of you being fluid and working within the parameters of what everybody else is doing and able to make sure that we can provide the services here like other places. So I am very much in favor of this and appreciate you guys doing all the work it took to get to this point. Hopefully this is what it takes to get them on, and then we'll keep them as we've been keeping many of our other employees now.
And Loretta's, this is covered by salary savings, obviously, because that's in position that's been open. So the 5,000 is good to go, right, Loretta?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Mary and team and commissioners for your support.
Yeah, so I'm obviously supportive as well. Just, are we good on this job description? I mean, do we have like the right minimum qualifications, or, I mean, have we looked at kind of what's laid out in the job description in terms of being able to meet the market and be attractive in addition to this signing bonus that's being proposed?
I don't think it hurts to look at every, if we're gonna go out and repost. I mean, I think, yeah, Loretta, we could definitely take a, final scrub at it and make sure that it's what you need. Just everything, and then we can just do a nice last rebrand and remarket it out there with the hiring bonus, if you're okay with that, Loretta.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. Great. Thank you.
Okay, and then my last one is, updates to the non-rep salary schedule. So because of our brand new union that we just completed, we need to take those two positions off of the non-rep scale, so they'll have their own scale now. And then I've worked with Diane and Mark on the two reception secretary positions that are up front at the switchboard as you walk into building 1 and outside the commissioner's office. Kind of realizing that there needs to be a reclassification of one due to a higher kind of level of work that's being done. And it's perfect timing because that position is going to become open. So we'll be able to go ahead and market and fill at the higher level. So moving those around and then kind of retitling receptionist secretary is kind of an outdated term. And so retitling those to administrative assistant. And then a customer service specialist. That one has no range change, and the other one will move from a range 10 to a range 13. And then supplemental, and so just looking for approval to move the new schedule forward.
I'm supportive, and commissioners, doesn't it feel good to actually have a living, breathing process for our non-reps now? It does. It's another thing that we never had over the years we have now.
Couldn't agree more. Supportive of these changes too. Great.
Yeah, I love it. I love to see that our non-reps are also getting the attention that they've deserved, that they haven't received for years. So appreciate you, Mary.
And I didn't know, am I allowed to talk about our other contract that was done Friday? Or do I have to
might as well brief us on it now. They don't have the paperwork to us yet though, right? So we couldn't get it on the agenda for tomorrow anyway, but it's good to be briefed.
We're gonna try.
Are you? Well, then if we need to brief it tonight and ask that it be added to the agenda.
Yes. So the AFSCME local 1504 contract was ratified by the union late Friday, which is why we have, but if we could, I'd like to get it on there for tomorrow. I have the briefing ready to go. The contract's ready to go with the union signature. It just came in late Friday, and so I didn't want to, it was going to be late on the list, so I apologize.
Yeah, no, I'm excited again. Let's get it on. If it's all signed and ready to go, let's definitely put it on the agenda for tomorrow.
And let's get it on the website as soon as we possibly can so the public can see it. They're going to be happy though, because they're not going to have an issue with it. If they did, they would have had an issue with all of our other 9 ones because everybody is close and it's been done with the same care for each one of them. So I don't think the public will have any issue with this one because it's the same good treatment with each other as the other ones. But still get it online just in case.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Great work on that one too.
Yep.
Thank you, Mary. Jen, do you want to talk about ARPA?
Yeah, so the American Rescue Plan Act, an update on that. We submitted the second quarter, the quarterly report today. And we have expended about 5.8 million out of the close to 13 million that we have received. So we have about 7 million left to expend on that. We did receive an email last week that the LATCF funds are available. The second tranche is available, or second installment, and that's about 397,000 for a total of about 794,000. So I'll go ahead and apply for that if you're okay with that, commissioners.
Yep.
Okay, great. And then the Housing Authority, we've received some copies of checks from them, but we have requested invoice copies to go along with those checks. So that's what we're waiting on from the Housing Authority, but we are, receiving information, so that's good. But do we want to set a date to relook at that, like a formal kind of date to make a decision on that?
I'd like it to take what it's going to take, but one of the things I'd like to ask you is there's a lot of checks there. Is there any possibility you can go through some of them and slim down the ones you want to have full documentation on? That would probably speed that up a lot more. If you've got 10 or 15 that you want the documentation on, or you have 30 that doesn't apply, after reading them, I can see some of them, there's a waste of time to try and get them to do anything special with those.
Okay. Yeah, I can see if we can tell by the checks. I'm not really sure if we can or not.
Well, any of them that you can't, let's ask for the documentation on it. No matter what it is, if you're not sure, let's ask. I just think that would speed it up than them trying to find it for every single one for water for each one. I'd like to get this behind us as soon as we can.
Yeah, me too.
I know you would. The work you're putting in, the commission, I already know they know how hard you're working on this and how much work you've put in for the community in order to make all this work for them. It wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for you, Jen. So
thank you. Yeah, and Kate really, the credit goes to her. She's been working really, really hard on getting that documentation. Yeah, thank you very much.
Just to add to that, Jen, just to make sure from an expectations from our commissioner's standpoint, Kate and Jen have been working super hard with them to try and get this moving forward. So until we have all of that information, it's kind of hard to provide any assurance to our commissioners. And so I just want to be clear that Jen and Kate are doing whatever they can with the information that they're given.
yes.
And so we will continue to keep you updated. Commissioner Netherland, I appreciate the work that you've done with them to get them to provide us additional documentation. And as long as we keep that moving forward, I would appreciate some additional support from you to them saying, get the invoices to back up those, the copies of the warrants or checks that we received. So.
And I can also share with you that I've been reaching out. I was able to get a hold of the people at HUD. They've been working through the whole process. I've been holding the hand with AdWest, the new management company. We're trying to get funds back from the old one that received funds inadvertently. There's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm intimately involved with all of it. But again, I want to remind everybody, everything Kate and Jen are doing is not required. It's what they're doing is well above what is required. And everybody in all those housing units need to thank them for their work, because it is truly not under their purview. They're going way above and beyond. And I know the Housing Authority knows that and appreciates it, because I don't think they can do it if she hadn't. They're in a place now where they're getting to where they can, because this new company is really stepping up. Like I said, I'm holding the hand of all of them together to get them to get through the funding, to get everything registered like it's supposed to. And everybody's working so well together. I'm proud of them. But again, somebody else is doing all the heavy lifting while they're doing it. And that's Jen and Kate.
And Commissioner Trask and Commissioner Schutte, just to kind of keep you guys up to speed, that's what these briefings are for, where we can all talk together. I did receive some documentation from the Housing Authority where they're contracting with an outside contractor to come in and finish up the units that So originally, the agreement or the approach that the Housing Authority had was they were going to utilize this ARPA money to utilize internal staff to go in and fix up some units that were that had considerable degradation, right? So they really weren't even livable. And so they were hopeful that that money would be able to be spread by utilizing internal staff and resources to a number of apartments. Well, now when you go out and you get a contractor to do it, the impact's going to be a little bit smaller. But the positive part about it from my perspective is that that the ARPA money I'll have very clear documentation of how that ARPA money is being spent and the units that are upgraded.
And there shouldn't be that much of a savings because they figured out as they go through the process that they must, and again, thank you to Jen, they must follow prevailing wage. So it doesn't matter which one's doing it if you have to go with prevailing wage. You don't have the savings you have by an internal worker if they're being paid prevailing wage like you would any other organization.
I think it's important that everyone understands that this is not money from the state. This is federal dollars, and they have much harder regulations or restrictions to be followed. And so for everyone to understand that it's not just the county that's saying, bring us your paperwork. This is the federal government saying this. So I think it's important that people understand that there's a lot more to the story. And so to make sure that the county's in good standing, we want to make sure that we get the invoices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. We have a lot of stipulations just on our level, but yeah, on the federal level, we have to answer to the state auditor. So one thing that is not on the agenda, but I wanted to bring up was the Community Action Council, the subrecipient agreement. Is that something that you wanted to talk about and move forward on?
Yeah, I talked to Tim, wanted to give you guys kind of just a short update, talk to Tim about this, and I feel comfortable. I want to make sure that the people that need the help can get the help. There is provisions in the contract that help us hold them accountable. And I believe that we're going to have a meeting later where I can explain a lot of this, but I just want to make sure that the folks that need the money can get the money. So I would feel comfortable moving this to the monies to the action agenda for us to approve at this point in time.
Well, Commissioner Trask, you know how I feel. This is your barbecue on that. If that's where you're going, I'm 100% supportive as well.
That's mine.
Sounds good. Thank you.
To move that to the August 1st agenda for tomorrow.
Yeah, if we could. I think we also have, I think Dave's on here too, the hand contract. So if we can add both of those, that would be great.
So tomorrow or August 1st? Or tomorrow is August 1st.
Tomorrow is August 1st.
I'm trying to figure that one out for a minute.
My bad. Yeah, I meant.
Yeah, if we can put them on. Sorry, Mackenzie. If we can put them on for tomorrow, that would be.
I hear furniture crashing outside my door over here. I have to walk through that hallway. Be careful now.
Okay, great. And then the copier lease funding, we had originally put that on the agenda, but we're not going to talk about that at this point.
Thank you.
So the next item that I have for you is talking about our building up in North Mason, the old Central Mason Fire Authority's administration building that the county is leasing and going to relocate our north precinct of our sheriff's office in. So I wanted to give Commissioner Schutte and Commissioner Trask an opportunity to see some of the work that we've done up here to, or at least the plans that we have in place to accommodate that north precinct. So within your packet, you have, let me see if I can share my screen real quick and maybe this will be easier to see.
While you're pulling that up, commissioners, when the time comes, we're still gonna have to start to sit down and decide what type of services we can provide. As somebody that's been around a long time, before I was ever a commissioner, we had certain services that were up there. Different departments can share different days up in the front, but we have a lady that is working in health downstairs that actually was the front person there for many, many years. And I just wanted to let you know that. So if we do anything, she may want to be able to go back there and do some stuff. So keep that in mind, please.
So can you all see what I'm sharing on my screen? And it's a copy of the floor plan? Okay, so where you see my cursor here is the front of the building. So this is what is existing. The existing main entrance comes into the building here. And then there's kind of a receptionist desk here. So basically everything that we see along this line here will be segregated out for the sheriff's office operations. These are 2 existing bays, so basically garage doors.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
These are 2 existing bays that we would be closing off. So we're going to pull these garage doors and actually wall in the openings, and then obviously make the siding on the front of it match with the other siding. And this is an open area for our deputies, very similar to the open area that they have at the North Precinct now. We would be constructing a 10 by 10 BAC room where they do blood alcohol testing. And then the area right as you walk in would actually be a little half wall with an opening for the receptionist that comes in and volunteers in this area. I believe that they actually do have a paid person up in this area now, but this is where they would be located to greet the public as they came in. They provide a number of different services up in North Mason, services provided by our sheriff's office. And so that's where that would occur. And then we would actually put a wall in here, if you can see where my cursor is, segregating these 2 bathrooms. So Kelly and his team would update these bathrooms to be ADA accessible, take out a shower unit that's in there right now that's not necessary, and then they would be able to utilize this as a unisex bathroom. Additional work that they would do would be upgrading a bathroom that's back here at the top towards the back of the building, and then recarpeting the area that would be our remote EOC area. So we've talked a little bit about this in the past. Emergency management has some funding to equip this area, and this would be an alternative location for standing up the EOC if we had an emergency up north where we wanted our EOC to be closer to the action. So the one bay that's down here remains as a drive-through bay. This will remain, the garage door will remain in this second bay to the right, but this would actually be utilized by the sheriff's office for storage of some needs. But the green lines that you see here, Kelly and his team would actually be building some separation walls. And Kelly and I have, or Kelly spoke with the Sheriff's Office administration. They were 100% supportive of this plan. And he is working with our planning and permitting department to make sure that we have all the proper permits. Do you have any questions before I stop sharing?
I do.
Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, so first off, just really excited about the building. I think it's a great opportunity for us to be able to have a really good long-term building and presence in North Mason. And I think there's a lot of room for us to grow into that building. That said, what I don't like is the blocking off of the bays. Over the past year and a half, we've spent like almost $1 million chasing storage space. And I just don't know why we would be taking that off of the table as an option for us in this building when we have no clear staffing plan or data to support a staffing plan for additional county services when we could be utilizing that space that's already built out differently in order to accommodate the needs of the sheriff's office, and then grow into that building depending on whatever it is, whether it be public health or building and permitting or along those lines with a clear staffing plan from those departments. I just don't know why we would put money into taking storage off of the table for us right now when we hear that being consistently told that that's a huge need for the county, and we've spent a ton of money trying to go after it. Unless you're going to tell me today that we are absolutely where we need to be storage wise and that we have everything that we're going to need for the life of this lease, I'm not real comfortable with that part of this plan.
Can I say something on that one? So it's amazing that we actually have an agreement with the sheriff and everything's good. And they love what we've put together. There's also storage units behind this facility. This would still allow for the 2 bays. It's just the 2 bays here that would be utilized. And one thing is, if we change the body, the building, and start putting sheriff's department in there, we will not have them to use for other things as time goes on. We won't be able to move them out and move them around. Long term, this is a great plan what's put together, but more importantly, it's one that the sheriff's department is happy with too. But again, I understand your concern when it comes to storage, but this actually provides for those 2 bays could be used however we want to do it that way. But we also have 2 bays in the back that are even bigger that come with this lease. So please consider that the fact is, if you start changing the structure and putting deputies in those other rooms instead of this one here where they've already agreed, then we won't be able to use it for the public for other things. And I know that my community would love to have access to the building department, to the health department, to anybody else that we can get services to eventually. But if we don't have a place to put them, just like now, we can't utilize them up north.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I mean, I'm really glad that you were able to come up with an agreement with the sheriff's office, and that that it's able to be presented that way to us here today. I just don't think that it's the best use of that space right now. That's my only. I think it's, you've obviously put a lot of thought into this. I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect, I'm not a designer, so perhaps other people with those skills see it differently than I do. But I don't see the value as the world sits today with building out half the building, changing half the building and leaving the other half vacant while we come up with a staffing plan for these other departments when, the clock is ticking on the current building that we have for the North Precinct. It just seems like we're out of order on this in terms of like what we would need in order to provide additional resources for different departments up there. If there's consensus that this is the best idea that we could come up with, and this is the path forward for everybody, I'm not going to stand in the way of that. I just don't think that this is as well thought out as it could be.
Well, this was also one of the fastest. That's one of the reasons why they liked it so much too, because most of the others will be cubicles just like they have now. There's one good construction there and the 2 walls, a window, but for the most part, this can be done fairly quickly. That's why they went that route.
So I walked through it, with Kelly, and while I was walking through it, there's a lot of space that's already built that I think that could be used. And at this point in time, I'm not comfortable spending, I think it was 75,000. Let me look here. 75,000 with 2 firewalls. And that, I don't know, that just, I think it's going to be a lot more than 75,000. I'm not an architect either, but there's already rooms. There's a big kitchen. There's big areas for, if we have to put in cubicles right now, I think that we've got so many more expenses coming to us. We've got the courthouse. We've got building 10. I would just feel more comfortable using the area that's already there for offices and for DEM. That's a big building. It's a lot bigger than what it looks like on paper, as far as the drawings say. Just walking through it, I think that there's a lot more possibility for us to use the existing space at this point in time, and then building on if necessary, taking out the 2 doors. I think that that's going to be a lot more expensive than and the firewalls and putting in, making it match. It just seems to me that using what we have now is more cost effective at this point in time.
So Commissioner, I want to remind you, there's part of the agreement that the construction cost for this comes out of the rent for the 2 years. If we don't use it, then it doesn't come out of the rent for the 2 years. That's one major point. The other point is all the other things would still be used in this design. The sheriff's department still uses the kitchen and all that other, and the DEM still uses it, as does the other employees. And that other room is used for DEM for training for the sheriff's department as well. It's not like none of that's being used. The thing that stays the same are those office spaces. But again, this is perfect for them. But I'm going to tell you, I'm surprised to be hearing all this. The reason why is, if you do what we're talking about doing, then that's what we're going to get. You've just basically turned this whole thing over into a new sheriff's department, which I guess that's fine if that's what you want to do, but you're not going to move them out afterwards, and we're not going to be able to utilize that money that they gave up for us. But again, the sheriff's department liked this whole thing, and it allows us not to do anything with that other structures until we have money or have other decisions on what we're going to do up there. But again, you put other bodies in there now, you won't be using it for anything else, because we're not going to be moving them out and then rebuilding something later when we don't get money to do it. We get money to do this from the Mason County, North Mason Regional Fire Authority. We get, how much was it, 2024, almost $50,000 to do this.
So
So
I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So the only way we would be able to utilize that benefit is if we build it out this way, not if we made other modifications to the area that's already.
Nope, we can still use.
Okay, so like if we wanted, if like for instance, a priority of the sheriff's office was they wanted to have an open area for their deputies to have, to work in an open space with cubicles. Theoretically, as an alternative, we could take down some of those non-bearing walls and create an open space over there. I also don't think, like, I want to be able to provide as many services in North Mason as we can. But like, we don't have a staffing plan to do that. And so like, that's all just like, unless Mark has that from Kel and Dave about like how that would work. If he has it, I haven't seen it. And so like, we know that like we need to have this as a public safety campus because that's the way that it was presented to the public for the bond vote. That's the way it was presented. Yeah, it was. I mean, that was part of the, I saw those advertisements and I think that's great. And I'm not saying that we can't use it for other things, but I'm just saying the primary function of this is to be for public safety, a public safety campus. And so to me, it makes sense to allow that part to happen first, reserve space in the built out area that could potentially be used for general county services, but then like put a staffing plan together to figure out, what days people can expect to have what services from other county offices there. That's a conversation, frankly, that we should have been having for a long time. And if there's one major flaw in this presentation, it's that conversation hasn't happened at all. Even though I've asked for it, I know we've talked around it. And so like, if that can be, if we can have a plan that's clearly delineated there so that we set the right expectations for the community, then I'm fine. But I just don't see that right now. And I think, again, I go back to the other point as well about the storage. So I think there are a couple flaws with this. I just think it's worth more discussion. And that's just kind of where I landed on it. I think it's a great first attempt.
Yeah, so let's please continue to have more discussion, but I please hope you realize that there was more to it than that. I was part of that discussion with the community actively. And although they did have it as that at one point, it definitely moved in with the hope that we were going to finally be able to bring back services to North Mason. Now, I never spoke on behalf of the county and said we're going to get it, but if we lost that opportunity, to me, that doesn't make any sense. And if you start filling in those rooms, we're not going to build brand new rooms for these other employees. This gives us the ability to have all this and to be able to fill in the rooms. And we couldn't fill in the rooms until we knew what we were going to do with the sheriff's department. So there was nothing much we could do there. I would have liked to have had a plan in place or had them meet with me. But now if we set this up and this gets done, this is the fastest way to get it done. Then we can go and see we have these rooms. What are we going to do with it? But again, if you say it needs more work, but please consider there's a lot of work that went into this. This is what the sheriff's department liked. It's a great flow for everybody, and it allows us to utilize it. If we fill those rooms up, you cannot use them twice.
Well, and I think ultimately the decision belongs to the commission. And at this point in time, I'm not comfortable spending money on options that we don't need at this time, because I know that there's still enough room up there for the planning department to have a person that goes up there once or twice a week, for the auditor's office that they wanted to go up there once or twice a week, because there's a lot of space up there. And like I said, it doesn't look like there's a lot of space on there with this map and the drawing, but I know that there's a lot of space. And I don't feel comfortable moving forward with this plan without having a little bit more. I'd like to speak to the sheriff's office myself and see if that's an option that they're comfortable with as well, or if we can make the other rooms work for now. We're always changing things around, just to make sure that things work for the benefit of the county. So I want to just make sure that this is something that, and Commissioner, I know that this is your area and you love your area so much, but I just want to make sure that this is something that's good for the entire county and for for the staff that we have, for the departments that we have too.
And when we come back together on this, just ask you to consider to explain the next time, not now. If we fill up those ones where he's got the cursor and we fill up to the wall up there with the sheriff's department, knowing that there's a kitchen behind it or whatever, and then there's the training room and the emergency management next to that. So that just leaves those little rooms in the back if the sheriff does not use them, which they probably would have to because of the bathroom and stuff like that. Where would we put the building department? Where would we put the auditor's department? Where would we put them? That's where they would go. So please consider that for when we come back together. If we use those for the sheriff's department, where would we put them? Because we still gonna need to have a front counter area. And that's the thing where some of the money is expended. And again, most of the money on this is not just for this, it also included other things and fencing and stuff like that we're hoping for. But this way there's money that comes back. If we don't spend the money into improving the facility, we can't not pay the rent on it. So that's one process, but please consider that when we bring it back, we can discuss where we would put these other departments if we fill up those existing rooms with the sheriff's department.
And I would just say to that, I mean, I think if we would be able to have that conversation if we had a staffing plan from Cal and Dave. If Mark is going to be supportive of the plan that's presented here today, then how can we make any real decisions if we don't know what the staffing needs are going to be for those two departments to be able to provide services up there, right? So, like we can't have it both ways. Like we can't have it where we want to have everything built out initially for the sheriff's office and then figure out how we're going to provide building and planning and public health services, auditor services, whatever, but only get input from the sheriff's office on how to build the building out. So I guess my point is just like, I just don't think that this is yet ripe to make a decision. I mean, I think if we're gonna truly go and provide those services, then we can't just talk to one department or one commissioner about like what the floor plan is going to look like. We need to include those other people that are going to have to utilize that building as well.
And just so you know, up till now, the onus was on getting the sheriff because the lease and stuff like that. So that's why it was a focus on that first and foremost. At least
And I
that's
totally agree with
that's
that.
the way I understood it.
And I totally agree with that, which is why I think we would use the space that was built out first, and make modifications to those areas to accommodate the sheriff's office, and then figure out how we provide all those additional services that the community might want up there. I think we're on the I think we're on the same page in terms of what this building can be. And I think we need to have a better picture from our team about what that's all going to require in terms of space and staffing needs.
So Commissioner Schutte and Commissioner Trask, when you go out and ask, and I'd be happy to sit down and meet with you, there's a couple of things that I want you to keep in mind. So security around sheriff's office space is extremely important. So I've got to be able to completely secure their space from any other space, right? So the only people that have access and they can go in there are sheriff's office employees. This area that I have my cursor around right now is a kitchen. And I'm hopeful that kitchen can be utilized by everybody that occupies this building. So I want to keep that in an unsecured, open space. Okay. The area that is here is a large gathering area that could be utilized for meetings and such. And then, of course, this area is the EOC area that we had kind of targeted to utilize as an EOC. There is a door that you could come in through the back here to access this area, and it previously has been utilized by the fire authority to have large meeting space in here. So keeping this area open and unsecured, I have to secure everything else for the sheriff's office. So think about that. I have heard from the auditor's office and wanting to have voting services up in this area. And I believe that it was just around election times, so 4 times a year. So when I'm looking at these other spaces that are throughout this, I'm looking at it in terms of how do I maintain flexibility on how they're used. I've heard them called hoteling stations before, where we may not be adding additional staff, but maybe we have existing staff hotel up there in a couple days a week or a number of times a week, so that they could actually utilize this place to meet with individuals that are in North Mason County to talk specifically about plans, or if it's our planning and or development services department employee, an area where they could go up there and meet with the public. So obviously this is the front door, and this is an area that we have to kind of create some type of security around the sheriff's office and openness for the public to enter and come in and get access to other services that we might provide here. Public health department has talked about having periodically services that they provide up in this area. So wanting to segregate some of that space that provides some confidentiality when they're meeting with their clients or meeting with their people that they're servicing, and having a restroom space here as well as here that is open to the public. So I think that was one of the main reasons why we wanted to cordon off this area, because we could easily secure it up to the sheriff's office standards, and then still have access to the rest of the building for open use or unsecured space. So just wanted to keep that in mind, and I'd be happy to sit down and talk with you about other services that we could provide up there, other ideas that you all might have in terms of how you want to move forward with that. As far as timeline, I need to have my sheriff's office in here by November of 2023. So my lease ends at the end of December, and we've got some cleaning up that we need to do in our old leased facility. The savings associated with this space is considerable. We pay $4,000 some odd a month now in our existing place. This is going to be $2,000, and any work that we do right now, the fire authority has agreed that we would not pay rent to kind of help us fund any modifications that we had to the building. So be happy to talk with Commissioner Trask and Commissioner Schutte further about ideas they might have and how they would want to utilize this space or secure it, but just keep those things in mind, please.
Perhaps we can do a field trip or something out there together.
Be happy to do a field trip. I like field trips. Alrighty, so I will continue to provide some information, and I will meet with Commissioner Schutte and Commissioner Trask on what this plan looks like, and I can also kind of show you a larger idea of that entire space, right? So there is some outdoor storage space that we actually can have available when we fence it off and make it secure. And there's a pole building directly behind this building where we have 2 bays in it that is utilized or can be utilized for county storage, and then the remainder is going to still be utilized by the fire department. But yeah, so it's going to be kind of a shared space in terms of working with the fire department to make sure that that we can both live here and get along well and still be able to utilize the necessary space that they have. When I was up there, they were testing hoses in this back parking lot area, and that's something that they routinely do. So giving them the space to do that type of work, I think, is something that we would continue to do in the future. So if there's no other questions on that, commissioners, any other questions for me or any other specifics that you'd like me to bring back to you?
I feel like that this is a ongoing conversation and looking forward to discussing it more.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and this is where you have commissioner discussion.
Okay, so tomorrow morning we do have scheduled an executive session at 8:30. So just want to remind people that we will be going into that at 8:30. And then we have our regular meeting after that.
I had 2 quick items for discussion. If we wanted to do those now or get into public works and do those later.
Either way is good with me. Which would you prefer?
I would entertain that we do those later and allow Public Works to present their items, and then we can come back.
Great.
Sounds good. Loretta?
Hello. We'll try and be quick, commissioners. We have 2 vacations to present, and I'm going to introduce Lovejoy. And she's the one who's been doing all the wonderful right-of-way work for us, and she's going to present these 2 items for you. All righty.
Hi.
Morning.
I am going to talk about vacation number 413. It's concerning a portion of Jackson Avenue, Laurel Street, Park Avenue, unopened alley in block 33 of McGreevy's first edition. They already held the hearing examiner on June 14th. This petitioner on this is Mankey Timber Company. The plat was dedicated in 1890, so technically it's already been vacated by operation of law. We did all of our public notices in the Shelton Journal, May 18th and the 25th. We also posted it at various locations along with on-site. And we're basically requesting that we accept the recommendations of the hearing examiner and grant the vacation of the right-of-way as petition, subject to the conditions contained in the findings, conclusions, recommendations of the hearing examiner for the road vacation number 413.
All right, commissioners, any questions?
Me.
Usually we just don't object to it if it's been vacated by law. It doesn't, historically, we don't vacate something that's already been vacated.
Yes. So the action would be no objection to vacation.
That's normally what we do when it's been vacated by law already.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the second one is road vacation number 414. This one was petitioned by Raynell Reestad and Jerry Berry. This is for the west half of 6th Street, adjacent to their property in the plat of Detroit, block 15. This one, the plat was also dedicated in 1890. And so technically it's already been vacated by operation of law. The hearing examiner heard the hearing on June 14th. We did the public notices in the journal at the same dates as the other one, the May 18th and 25th. And it's the same thing that requests that you accept the recommendation of the hearing examiner and grant the vacation of the right of way, subject to the conditions contained in the hearing examiner's.
For me, it's the same position. We don't vacate what's already been vacated. We just agree not to contest.
Agreed.
All right. All good, commissioners, on those?
All good.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you too.
Yes, Lovejoy exists. She's been busy wrangling property rights for all of our construction activities going on this summer, and of course the Skokomish work as well. So she's hopping, and we're really happy to have Lovejoy, and she's doing a great job. So awesome job. Thank you.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing real quick. Commissioners, if it's okay during the meeting tomorrow, Mary and I would like to introduce our 3 summer interns. So would that be agreeable on the agenda?
100%.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that there's time on the agenda to do that. So
perfect. Good job.
Last week was had a National Intern Day, so it's good timing.
Awesome. Yeah, they're out doing various things today. One of the activities that they are going through and inventorying assets up at Beards Cove. So they've been getting a full meal deal, all kinds of experience.
That's exciting. Right.
Yeah, it is. And then as far as other just quickie reports, we're out, I believe today, started chip sealing out at Kelly Hall. So maybe Commissioner Trask, when we're road tripping this afternoon, if you want to go out to the far reaches of the county, we could go check that out. We completed Sunnyside last week, and that looks really, really great. And after that, we will be heading over to Sunny Slope. And then we're getting ready for the Rock Creek Bridge project. And it's, again, busy season, so hard at it.
It is busy season. Yeah, commissioners, any comments or questions for Loretta and crew?
I've already heard this morning from the folks out of Kelly Hall, and everybody's excited to see that work progressing.
I bet so. We use some contract work out there on Kelly Hall. So we're, as I mentioned, very busy. And so that was a good use. And our contractor did a nice job.
Well, I'm excited for our road trip this afternoon.
Me too. Ready to roll.
All right. It's always good to get out there and see what's going on.
Yes.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to commissioner discussion.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Commissioner. So just 2 quick things, and they're mostly for Mark, I guess. So Mark, you and I spoke last month about looking at organizing a follow-up to last year's commissioner retreat. We had like 3-4 pages worth of items that your staff had presented to us that were on their work plans. And I think it'd be good to get an update on where all of those stand. And I think that's also, not that we need to wait until we have this follow-up retreat to have the discussion, but that's a great context to have a discussion about what a staffing plan in satellite offices look like. Those are really good venues to talk about that from a strategic planning perspective. And then, Mark, the other thing that we talked about a month ago was following up with Deb Munguia about having a delegation tour for our legislators. Getting kind of late in the summer, and they all have their schedules to manage, and so I don't want to lose that opportunity to have them out to talk about our priorities, especially our utility asks heading into the short session. So those were my only two things.
Yeah, I'm super excited about having another. I'd like to see if we can get them to meet with the city and our other folks. I mean, quarterly might be a bit too much for some, but I really think that in order for us to all work together, we need to be on the same page and have everybody's goals at the top of everybody's priority list. So I don't think that we can do that unless we're communicating.
So it is difficult to get our legislative bodies together for quarterly. I do know that your staff in a number of departments have been working closely with especially with the city of Shelton. So Cal has been working closely with the city of Shelton regarding our updates to our comprehensive plan that we're doing and working with them. And Dave has been working with the city on a number of items where the city needs additional resources or support, and kind of working with them to see what does that look like as we move into the future. And we're also looking into animal control services that what does that look like moving forward. And I don't know if the city can, I think I just received an email last week that they were actually going out for an RFP for those services. So they're kind of interested in what that looks like. So I think that we could present to them opportunities of what that might involve. So we put some costs together associated with that and what it looks like. And I think that we could provide the city with some documentation. And I know that's a service that our sheriff's office really would be appreciative on getting something established there to provide the follow-up. So our deputies are responding to animal calls, but the follow-up side of that is definitely an area where they need some additional support. So do you guys have calendar times that you'd like me to shoot for that work for all three of you? And I'm specifically talking about, do you want to have this commissioners retreat just in-house, Commissioner Schutte, or would you like to include the city in that?
Oh, I think just us for that. I mean, this is to go over things that your staff came up with last July. So
yep,
city doesn't need to be a part of that.
All righty, I can get that put together. And then I did hear from Deb that she's looking for some time. So I will work with Loretta and Richard to make sure that they're available. And especially if we want to specifically talk about the utilities.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, commissioners, anything else for Mark or to discuss? See some shaking heads. Oh, how about a motion? What's that?
Move to adjourn.
And I think I saw Commissioner Netherlands mouth move say he seconded.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. See you guys at 8:30 in the morning.
Thank you.
Thanks.